You are now tuned in to the Project 365 experience.
I am very excited and beyond honored to be joined by Nolan Willett from Edge Prep, the associate head coach at Edge Prep. Nolan, how you doing?
I'm doing great, man. Really happy to be here. I've been a big fan of your content for a while, so a lot of mutual friends, a lot of mutual people. So I'm excited about this. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I appreciate it. So, uh, tell me one thing. I got to dive into it because Canada's big
Yeah,
and Western Canada doesn't get a lot of the rep that I believe that it should be getting. What is
for
one
sure.
thing you want people to know about Western Canada?
I would say, even
Could be
though
could be anything. Could be anything. Doesn't have to just be basketball.
I would say it's a completely different style of basketball, but the new generation of kids out here have a chip on their shoulder because of what you just said. I would
Mhm.
say there's a wave of kids that got a chip that are seeing the attention that their peers are getting, and they maybe feel like they're better than some of those kids, and they want to prove it. And I think we have a great example of that, of some of the kids we got at Edge that, you know, their day-to-day life and the amount of that they of work that they put in. I think if some people out there in Ontario knew what they were doing on a day-to-day basis, they would be surprised.
Mm.
And they definitely got a chip on their shoulder. I'll leave it at that. I think there's some kids that have a lot to prove, and they're ready to prove it.
Mhm. It's funny that you're saying that because, originally I'm from Montreal. I'm
Mhm.
from Montreal. And it's like where my eyes started opening was just like, a lot of times you think the grass is greener, the
Yeah.
next place where you go to and all that, right? So it's like, being from Montreal, a big thing is, oh, in Toronto, like that's where all the resources, so everybody tries
Yeah.
to get to Toronto. And then afterwards, when people are in Toronto, or just Ontario in general, and afterwards they're like, okay, boom, they're trying to move to the US. They're trying to move this, they're trying to move that. But I like what you just said, because I think a lot of people can have a lot of success if they just focus on the task that they have in front of them.
Mhm.
And right now, the opportunity that some of these kids that you're talking about in Western Canada have is just that they could just focus on just getting better every day.
Yeah, and I think it's I wouldn't say watered down a little bit less, but we do get kids all the time that, like you said, they leave to go to Toronto or they leave to go to whatever prep school wherever they're at, and there's not necessarily development there. There's not necessarily certain things. So when they get there, if they're not good today, if they're not who they're supposed to be today, they just get lost in the mix. There's another 10 players that play over them. They got four different teams there. You just get lost in the shuffle. And so I think a lot of kids out here do have an opportunity to, just keep their head down and work and just develop. But we also do have issues as well with, lack of competition. We're gonna have to travel more to get the game
Mm-hmm.
get in. Like there is new prep schools emerging and new situations emerging in Western Canada. But a lot of times in their first couple of years, it takes a while to build a solid program and stuff. And Edge has been around for a while. So I mean, for our kids, we do have to travel a lot, and that's just a realistic part about being in Western Canada is you're not going to get as much competition out here. But things are shifting, and I think traditional high school basketball is kind of dwindling away a little bit, and
Mm-hmm.
that's even happening in the city. And people are being creative to work around that and stuff. But the downside is, yeah, definitely the travel. But the upside is, you're a big fish in a small pond, right? So
Mm-hmm.
you do have a lot of resources, and if you keep your head down, you can be extremely successful.
I like the analogy you said about a big fish in a small pond.
Mhm.
Sorry, you here. Well, when you're in, I guess, quote unquote, smaller markets, you're a big fish in a small pond. So I guess like
Yeah,
it's easier for you to break through. But,
yeah,
going back to what you said about a lot of times people think that they have to be at an opportunity to become something. And if
mhm,
they're not good right now, they struggle.
yeah,
I see it all the time because a lot of times what ends up happening is like something as simple as I don't think I don't think people realize how competitive this basketball thing is.
yeah,
I don't think they realize. And it's so funny because, something as simple as I never paid attention to it and really thought about it. But yo, there's more people in the state of California that live than in all of Canada.
Yeah, I tell people that all the time. I tell that people like that's a quote that I use once a week because I grew up out there, right? So I
Yeah.
know it's a completely like people you 100% hit on the head. Like people have no idea, man. People sometimes have no idea. Like it's great to have D1 aspirations. It's great to have this, and that. But man, basketball is more competitive now than it's ever been. Getting a U Sport scholarship is as hard as it's ever been. Getting a
Mhm.
Division 1 scholarship is fucking next to
Yeah.
impossible.
Yeah.
You gotta have limitless potential, or you have to have like the perfect fit at the right time and be that guy to get that, right? But
Hmm.
yeah, man, the landscape of basketball is we need as many truth tellers as possible because the more truth tellers there are, the more people will understand the landscape and be realistic about where they're at in the world because a lot of people have no idea, rather they didn't hoop or they just don't know the game and haven't been around. So they might think a kid is D1 and might be telling a kid that, but they don't know the landscape of the game right now. And so I think it's important that we tell the truth as much as possible
Hmm.
and we understand where basketball is at today.
This is so good. This is so good because I got introduced to, obviously what you and Rob have going, just the training and Deuce brand and all the experiences and you saying that you growing up in Cali, like don't get it twisted. I've been a fan of you guys too. I've been keeping up. So I think for me, I want to know, and for the people that maybe don't know, who is Coach Nolan? Like when the players come in and they get the opportunity to be coached by Coach
Yeah,
Nolan, who is Coach Nolan?
I would say that's a loaded question, but
Mm,
Coach Nolan is not necessarily a coach first. Coach Nolan is originally a player that understands what players are thinking and what players need and what players want. And what players need and what players want are usually two different things. And I
mm,
think I do a pretty good job of being able to straddle that line of, being the big brother, but being the truth teller at the same time. And, you know, I come from the world of player development. I come from the
mm-hmm,
training world. That's where I come from originally. When I first came to Edge, it was in a player development role. It grew to assistant coach, it grew to associate, it grew to now like I'm 80% of the time I am head coaching. I work hand in hand with Eddie Richardson, who has more plates on his table than probably any human being.
shout out Eddie. That's my guy.
Big shout
Shout out
out
Eddie.
Eddie. Yeah. I mean, yeah, Coach Nolan is probably a bit of a unique coach because, like I said, I come from the player development world and I've grown into this coaching role, but I will always probably be in the development role throughout my life. My goal isn't to be a head coach forever or to climb up the coaching ranks. I think that I have a lot to offer basketball in other realms as well.
Mm-hmm. It's 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 so for me, like I'm very interested just to hear the pathway, like how living in Cali and how your playing experience affected your philosophy now
For
about,
sure.
being like a coach slash trainer slash how does all of that come into a factor?
Well, it definitely factors in a lot because I've experienced a lot of different levels of basketball. I've experienced a lot of different regions of basketball. I was born in Calgary, moved to California when I was 13, in grade 8. So I had 1 year before high school. Um, High school, I ended up going to a school called J. Sarah Catholic. It's in the Trinity League. For people who know schools like Mater Dei, St. John Bosco, Servite, Santa Margarita, it's a very tough league. Produces 5 to 10 NBA players every year, 10 to 20 NFL players every year. But it's a type of league that you don't have like fun nights off that you could just like, oh, we're playing so and so. I could just take it easy tonight. It was like Tuesday was Gabe York and Thursday was Caden or Stanley Johnson and Monday was Tyler Dorsey and Daniel Hamilton and like it was tough. Aaron Holiday on a Thursday, like it was NBA players after NBA players and
Mhm.
I grew up in that environment. I grew up playing for a club team, a Reebok team called Fast Break LA. practiced out of Crenshaw High. Was the only white person in the entire program.
Mm-hmm.
6 teams. I was the only white kid in the entire program. I grew up playing a lot of different styles of basketball, so I've seen it all. But I also seen how competitive it is and what real Division I basketball players look like. I ran a triangle and two against Stanley Johnson. I had to chase that guy around the court, and when he was making those Balls Life mixtapes, it was 6'7", 240 when he was in high school. So I seen it all, and finishing my career in high school, I had a bunch of D2 NAIA offers, and I thought I was better than that at the time, and tried to go a year JUCO. Had a great year, super fun, broke records at the school for assists, all that stuff. Still had D2 and NAIA offers. I realized that's who I was and that's who I am, and I realized I wasn't a Division I player at the time physically, and just lacking some things in my game. And my coach kind of made a suggestion about me playing back in Canada. I wasn't really trying to hear it at the time. Didn't know much.
Yeah.
And he sent out my film on a Thursday. By that Monday, I had 13 full scholarship offers back home. So people just saw the film. So I was a JUCO guard, had good numbers, played fast, kind of played like a structured U Sport player should be playing probably. So I took some visits, came back to Canada. Had first year was pretty solid. Ended up transferring to UNB to play out there right after Javon Masters was just finishing up, and tore both my meniscuses and a hole in my knee within the next 10 months. And that was about it, man. That was my third, fourth year. I came back my fourth year. COVID happened. Decided, man, like I have my degree at that point, and I was looking at it like, do I force some more eligibility? Or do I kind of start moving on with life? And by that point, I was already training players every summer, every year. And my father obviously had a pretty successful business. He had the highest number of players in Southern California that he trained. He trained pro players, several D1 players. He was the one that put a lot of trainers out there. So when he had moved back to Canada, he was started back up in Calgary here, and I was kind of taking on a big role. And as he branched out and did more stuff with Deuce Brown and some other things, I ended up, kind of taking over the day-to-day stuff a little bit more and linking up with Eddie. And I've known Eddie since I was 9 years old or whatever, but we started connecting a little bit more, and I was training a lot of the guys at the Edge, but just privately, and ended up coming on board, and now I'm here. long story short.
No, that's amazing. That's amazing. So like, tell me a bit about like, just, like, what is it from the California scene that you take? Because our experiences shape us, right? So it's like you having the opportunity to live through that, and you get the opportunity to come back. How, like, talk about what is it that you take from the California scene that you're trying to bring back here? And also, how was it to be around like people like Phil Handy and whatnot?
Well,
loaded. I'm giving you some loaded questions.
First part of that, I would say, like, one of the things I really take back is kind of what we talked about, like that, the competition out there is not just who you're competing with in your own backyard. You're not just trying to be the best person in your school, best person in your city, best person in Western Canada and Canada. It's a big world out there. And not to get ahead of questions before you ask them, but I mean, like, been to Japan, been to Korea, been to Denmark, and trained players all over the world. And I could tell you, they want just what you have as well. They want to go to college out here. They want to experience this stuff. So there's people that you're competing with all over the world. And in California, I would say if I had one thing that I really push on players from out there compared to in Canada, is they play so much basketball. I'm not talking about training. I'm not talking about practicing. They play so much basketball. When I was in high school, we would go, so your AAU, summer, spring, right? But then high school teams play in a fall league. Then you got your regular season in winter. Then you play in a spring league, and you play in a summer league as well. So with your high school, I would play about 55 to 65 games a year. With AAU, you would play another 60 to 70 games a year. So you're playing over 110, 120 games every single year, minimum. But you got kids out here that might play 40 games in a year. And kids would play on 5 different AAU teams. Whoever's playing that week, they're going to go get a game. They're going to play, man. They're going to 24-hour fitness. They're going to LA Fitness. We're playing basketball. And I think kids out here just don't play enough basketball. So when game time does come, they're not quite as confident in themselves, or they haven't been in every single situation. So even in our trainings, like summertime, when it's off season a little bit, we train for an hour, but then we play. We play every time, and like we play every day, and we stop it, and I control it, and I try to explain situations, but we play as much as possible because the kids need it, man. They need to play, right? Like kids just don't
Mm,
play enough. But kids out there, man, 150 games in a year, some kids play.
mm-hmm,
So that's a
mm-hmm,
big thing I would say, like that I bring back is just kids need to stay having fun and playing as much as possible, because all the training, everything has to segue into a game. And we have to have applicable training that has a why behind everything, so you can explain how it transitions to the game, but the kids also have to have opportunities to use it. So if I'm playing for my high school team, my coach is only going to play me in my role. But if I play another 30 games or scrimmage or open run over there, over here, like in the summertime, I'll go play at UC Irvine, Long Beach State, like all these places would have runs, and you could actually find out about yourself and who you are as a player. But we don't get a lot of that opportunity out here.
mm, mm. And it's like it's so funny that you're saying that, because I think that's one thing that I did this year with my team.
Mhm.
Um, so I'm head coaching the junior team at Orangeville this year, and that's the one thing that I noticed is like I think we're getting out of COVID. We're getting out of like we're not feeling the effects as much anymore, right?
Yeah.
And that's the one thing that I noticed is just like, we're so drilled. Like our players are so drilled. Like they know all the da. They'll do hesitation step backs for no reason, but simple things like how do I guard this guy? How do I play defense? How do
Yeah.
I okay, this guy is trying to get as many right-handed layups as possible. How do I cut off his move? What is his move? And all that kind of stuff. Just that scouting aspect. I
Sure.
kind of feel like we're missing it because, to your point, we're not playing enough. We're not getting these reps. We're not looking at, okay, this guy's a knockdown shooter. I got to make this guy play off the dribble.
And the
Just,
only way to really
mm-hmm,
work defense is playing defense.
mm-hmm,
So you got to play countless hours of
mm-hmm,
defense to understand like how to cut guys off, how to use your arm to get inside of people. Like there's
mm-hmm.
that you got to have trial and tribulations to actually
Yeah.
do it. So yeah, no, 100%, 100%.
And so, what I try to do, and I guess this is like similar to what you're doing in the summer, but it's just that I try to like, because the way that I look at it is like we grew up playing, like you're saying, playing in all these scrimmages, but we grew up playing at the park, man. Just like getting reps up, just 5-on-5. You lose, you gotta sit and you
Yeah,
gotta wait and all that kind of stuff. And it's like what I try to do is I'm like, yo, let's try to reciprocate the playground environment in our practices.
yeah,
And you'll notice that a lot of times when we walk these drills, and you're probably seeing it now as the associate head coach, when you walk these drills, you go 5-on-0, you go 5-on-0. The players are like, okay, what is this actually helping me for? And as soon as you get the chance to play 5-on-5, it's like everybody activates. Like,
yeah.
yeah, let's go.
No, it's definitely a different energy level, that's for sure. And yeah, I mean, to answer the second part of the question, like the Phil Handys of the world. I mean, I've been blessed to spend time around a lot of smart basketball minds and pick a lot of brains of people that, have given me a lot of keys to success throughout the training and coaching industry. But, Phil is somebody that, that's like a big uncle to me. I mean, I spent a lot of time with that guy, and shit, last summer I was in Japan with him for a
Mm-hmm,
long time.
mm-hmm,
And him and Jared Vanderbilt and experiencing that, and being able to train players with him, run coaching clinics with him. Um, and yeah, I mean, I've learned a lot more, I would say, off the court, being able to
mm-hmm.
pick his brain about certain players and how they approach the game and how they approach trainings, and ask specifics about why Westbrook didn't work out in LA, or
Mm-hmm.
like into little details and things. And I've been able to sit on flights with him and be able to, you're not sleeping this flight, man. I'm asking you questions the whole 2 hours.
Yeah.
And he's good with it, man. He actually respects that, and he's great with helping out the next generation of guys. And he runs an event every August, this training certification thing, and I always help out and have some pieces in it and stuff. And this last summer, I was working with Teresa Witherspoon, and she just got inducted into the Basketball Hall of Fame recently, and she put on a master class talking about how to guard pick and rolls for about an hour. and to be able to work with her on the court, man, I was able to learn so much. And he surrounds people with really smart basketball players. The summer before, I was able to spend a few hours with Reggie Jackson and really pick his brain on some of the defensive and pick and roll actions as well. And he let me in on some conversations from his time in Detroit, where Isaiah Thomas was trying to mentor him a little bit, like OG Isaiah Thomas. And man, yeah, just some great basketball minds I've been around. So, man, I'm definitely blessed and fortunate enough to be in those situations. But I also am humbly saying that I have put in an extraordinary amount of work to put myself in those situations.
Absolutely.
And I'm a grinder. Like I do treat this as a full-time job because it is to me. So I'm at the gym at 7 a.m. I'm at the gym at 9 at night. I'm doing film. I'm doing things. My girlfriend probably wants to throw my phone into the ocean with my, but I work, man. I'm trying to do as much work early on to set myself up to be in good situations, right?
Absolutely. And it's gonna pay off. You're on
Yeah.
the right track. Talk to me how something that must have been very eye-opening, right?
Mhm.
Is when you go up and you work with a lot of professionals, right? And you just being around the circles that you're able to be around.
Yeah.
Something that must be, talk to me how eye-opening it was when you realized that the best of the best keeps things so simple.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I had that come to Jesus moment like years ago where I don't know if it was my high school coach coached arguably the greatest AAU team of all time. It was Southern California All-Stars back when it was like Brandon Jennings, DeMar DeRozan, OJ Mayo, Kevin Love. It was they went 49-0 in the summertime, won every single tournament. Daniel Hackett, they just had some hoopers. Well, he was Klay Thompson's shooting coach, and Klay Thompson played at the rival high school for me, Santa Margarita. I played at JSerra. We were 10 minutes apart, hated each other. Police were at every game type thing.
Yeah.
Well, Klay Thompson, I seen him working out with him, and like the big thing was you go an hour, probably took 25 dribbles, and probably missed less than 5 shots, right? And I was able to spend time in the summers with Jordan Lawley, where I would train his younger kids, and in exchange, I would join his NBA Combine training as a player and experience that. And man, it's like watching my dad train pro teams and stuff over the years. It's really like get to your spots, be shot makers, score from all 3 levels. Got to score at the rim, mid range, and 3. Okay, but it's all efficient. Is playing off 2 feet in the paint, being able to have your footwork crisp into your pull up with a 1-2 to pull up at any time, 2 dribble pull up, 1 dribble pull up, side step. Boom, catch and shoot from every angle off every type of screen. If you could just keep it that simple to those things, then as you get older and as players get older, then they get more specific to what they need to train. Have a 10 to 13-year-old, you have to show them the whole ocean because you need to develop everything. You need to be able to have footwork, shoot the ball, handle the ball, all these things. But when they hit 15, 16, they're in high school, maybe it's a little bit more specific. Hey, he's a guard. He's going to be a combo guard. He needs to handle the ball off pick and rolls. He needs to be able to hit shots. Well, now he's in university. Now his coach just wants him only to be, off of pin downs, off Iverson, because and off the ball. So now his training has a little bit of everything else, but you got to find out how is that player going to make money? If that's scholarship money, if that's professional money, every player has a money skill. Okay. For me, I was a floor general. So my money skill was I could get us in our sets. I could get into the paint. I could create for others and I could hit shots when I'm open. Well, we have guys on our team that, have certain specific things that they need to make sure that they're staying on top of every day because that's what's going to get them a scholarship. It might be a very specific small thing. And it doesn't mean you don't train everything else. But pro players, like if you take a Jared Vanderbilt, his workout sometimes 40 minutes. He plays off of catching the ball in the corner, going up. So he goes uphill to the guards, rolls middle, boom, pump fake, finishes both hands, spins, pivots. Okay, short jumper off the corner. Then he goes flat screens up top where he rolls short elbow. Well, that's where he gets in the offense. He could get his work done in 45 minutes, and it could be effective because he knows exactly what spots, exactly where he's getting it. So it's like the older you get, the funnel just gets smaller and smaller for what you actually need to work on. And doesn't mean you don't work on your handles or do your catch and shoot threes, but you do know what's making you that money. So as a pro player, man, you really know what's making you that money. And the coaching staff, like a Lakers staff, has 25 coaches. So they have been clear with film and everything, exactly what they need out of you, exactly how efficient you should be from the spots that you need to be. So the player development staff is very easy because you know exactly what you need to do with every single player.
Nolan, we're over 20 episodes deep in my podcast, and that may have been the most detailed explanation I've ever gotten.
I appreciate it. I'm not gonna do you short, man. Come on.
No,
That,
but you hit that nail on the head, because it's like the older you get, the more you kind of specialize. So like, as we're going up and just things are becoming more narrower, the margin of error is smaller. The freedom that you have is a bit smaller too,
yeah,
right? And it's like you said, it's all the higher you get, the more competition. But it's like competition not only for the skill set that coaches want, the skill set that make money, but competition for the people that you're going up against.
for sure, 100%.
Man, no, this is okay. So I have to ask you this.
Yeah.
So you had the ability to be a floor general.
Mhm.
As a guard that's maybe not 6'7", 6'8",
Yeah,
you know what I'm
for sure.
saying? A smaller guard. What was your approach to the game like?
I think for smaller guards now more than ever, and I feel like I was a living testament of this. You have to be the coach on the floor, right? You have to be able to be an extension of what the coach needs on the offensive and defensive side on the floor. You got to have that calming presence. Like we have our point guard JoJo. He just won MVP in Denver on our EIBC session. Averaged 21-7. They did like these Elam endings out there, like the CBL.
Mm-hmm.
First three hit 3 game winners in a row. He gives us that feeling when I'm coaching, when the ball's in his hands, that everything's going to be okay. Gives a calming presence. Like, all right, no, JoJo's got the ball. We're good. Okay. So once he gets it, you feel calm as a coach. That feeling for a point guard, that's important. You got to be able to get the most out of every player on your team and understand that every player is different. Every player has to be talked to differently. Every player has to be approached differently. But as a point guard, if you can make the most or get the most out of all 4 of your teammates on the court, then you're a good point guard. If you understand your 5 needs a post touch every now and then, but he doesn't need to catch it in this spot. Or if you know your shooting guard just hit 2 shots and you're going to run the certain play for him to come off the double pin down, boom, and hit him. You got to be able to make the most out of everyone while still serving yourself as much as possible. And I think we have had a good history of point guards coming out of here. I mean, JoJo is obviously our guy this year. JoJo and Kai, we got 2 great point guards. Last year, Xavier Spencer, who's starting at Carleton as a freshman.
Mm-hmm.
MJ Okado, who's also starting at Carleton, is from here at Edge. Yeah, we've had some really good point guards come out of here, man. And luckily our point guards are very mature in the sense that this day and age, you get these guards that are quiet, man. They're quiet. They don't know how to they don't know how to talk on the court. They don't know how to talk in practice. And I force it out of our point guards. I make them talk. Like before practice, I'll get them to address the team. Before games, after practice, I'll get their thoughts in front of everyone. When things aren't going right, I'll speak in front of everyone straight to the point guards. And because I mean, if you could go to a U Sports school or a Division I, Division II school and already be mature enough to navigate 20, 21, 22, 23-year-olds as a 17, 18-year-old, then the coach won't look at you like a kid. He'll look at you like a man, right? And a lot of point guards act like kids in high school still. And it's so hard to get a scholarship as a point guard right now. It's just because transfers, JUCO kids coming back home, college kids, you get these prep kids. So if you could set yourself apart by being mature, then I think that helps a lot.
And what were your trainings like? As like, let's say you said you had to be the floor general, right? So it's like also being a smaller guard.
Yeah.
What were your trainings like? Like, what do you think smaller guards would need to be able to work on to be able to be successful? What skill sets? We talked about leading, we talked about communication, all those things, but like, yeah.
I think the 3 biggest things I would key in on would be in no particular order. One is you got to be able to control the pace by controlling your own pace. So a guard who plays fast all the time is easy to guard. A guard who plays slow all the time is easy to guard. But a guard that could change pace on the court is very hard to guard and deal with. So if you understand the pace of a ball screen, how to play slow off it, then explode, how to play fast in transition, how to set up the defender slow, but get quick past them and then get slow in the paint, like be able to control your pace is huge. So when I train, you'll see me like my pops always uses like a car as an example. You're going to fourth gear quick, boom, then you switch to first gear, then you're in second gear, then you're in third gear. And I think like working on your pace is one. Handle needs to be crisp, sharp. I worked on handle when I was young, like 12, 13 years old. I had an undeveloped basement. I used to ball handle for 45 minutes every day. Like my fingers were bleeding. Like I used to ball handle a lot. And then the third one is you have to be a shot maker. If you can't hit shots, then people won't guard you. So if you can't hit shots against the zone, if you can't hit shots if they go under a ball screen, if you can't hit shots, I would say pace, handles, and shot making abilities for sure.
Mm-hmm. You said a good point right there, and it's like you want to make the defense have to guard you, and I tend to find that nowadays a lot of times players tend to run a lot of offense instead of like putting pressure on the defense. Talk about how important it is that you have to be a threat on the basketball court at all times to make the defense have to guard you, because then it opens up certain things.
For sure. I mean, like the objective of the game is to score more points than the other team. So if you're on the court, you can't score the ball. That's typically a problem. So yeah, offensive sets don't work. You could run anything you want. You could have the best actions in the world, but if you don't have players that could score off of those actions and be threats off of those actions, then it's going to be tough to be successful. And I think like guys have to understand how to have controlled aggression. So you want to be aggressive and you want to be able to be free on offense, but controlled in the same sense that we're looking still for the best possible shot. But I mean, I teach our guys in every set we run, the first option when you catch it is if you could beat your guy, you could go to work, go to work. That only makes us better as a team. If you get in the paint, more times the ball touches the paint, the more times you win games. I mean, I forget what the stat is that they did at Duke a couple of years ago, where it was like every time they had 25 paint touches per half or something like that, they had a 65% win rate. And then when it was 30 paint touches, it was like 80% or something like that. So, I mean, you touch the paint with the ball, you go to work and beat your guy. That makes us better. Drive, kick, swing, right? You could kick it out and just opportunities for us. But yeah, I mean, we have good sets and we have good counters to our sets, but none of that matters if the guy who catches the ball can't make that play. So the more plays you can make for your others and for yourself, the more opportunities you have on the court.
Mm-hmm. You do you think, is there a specific like thing that you would be looking at, let's say as a smaller guard? Like what are you kind of like looking at? If let's say I'm trying to attack somebody specifically, what am I?
Don't look at who's in front of you, look at who's behind you. If you've worked your game enough, you know you could beat the person in front of you. You just have to understand angles and how to create new angles for yourself. But you have to play one step in the future. So you got to see where help size coming from. You got to see how the defense is rotating, how they're guarding ball screens. But I mean, Chris Paul said it best. He said when he was in with the Clippers, the Lob City era, he was running those pick and rolls. He said he didn't care what was going on in front of him because he knew he was going to turn the corner and get by the guy. He was looking at the weak side guy. Was he going to come all the way over and skip? It was going to be for a corner three, or is he going to stay? It's going to be a lob to the roller. He could see that ahead of time, so he's not worried about who's in front of him. He's trying to play 2 seconds ahead.
Nolan, man, this was great. We're probably going to have to get back together and like make a masterclass for like 40 hours on just like all this stuff down, you know? No, this is great, man. Like, no, I appreciate you taking the time. I know how busy your schedule is. You're probably about to get back in the gym right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So talk to me. Any future projects coming up?
So not really. I mean, I got
your season and all that stuff.
Deep in season right now. So December we play 3 weekends in a row at home in Windsor and Vegas. Take a little break, come back first week of school. We're playing New Mexico. Traveling a little bit more on the training side. I'm heading to Denmark and Sweden again in March. We'll be in Asia this summer. Got our trainings every day back home here, trying to put Calgary on the map as much as possible, man, and doing what we can. But no, like honestly, I appreciate you and your time and you spotlighting good basketball and good people in basketball, and we need more of this. So it's great that the community is coming together and you're doing a great job of it. So appreciate you, man.
I appreciate you, and again, love what you are, you and Eddie, what you guys are doing over there. And not just you and Eddie, like everything that you guys have going on at Edge, like is top notch. And if people have the chance to swing by when they do go to Calgary, I do encourage them to go. Shoot, I might have to come down myself. You know what I'm saying? No, I appreciate you. I appreciate you. We'll definitely have to get back together soon again because we got some good stuff and we'll have to break some stuff down, man.
For sure. Awesome, man.
I appreciate you.
Peace.
Great guy. Great guy. And if you guys need, please go follow Nolan. Go follow his father Rob, and also go follow Deuce Brand. Catch you on the next one. Peace.